Hi, thank you all for coming today. We're here to celebrate the life of Jared Meyer. Some of you may be wondering, who was Jared? What did he stand for? Well, Jared was a strong-willed, determined individual, and he was just your average American. Lived life, loved every minute of it, or at least tried. Now that I have some of your attention, I'd like to tell you a few stories about Jared that show you exactly kind of who he was and what he stood for. Jared was stubborn. Most stubborn guy I ever met. And it got really annoying to a lot of people at a lot of times. But at the end of the day, it paid off. He made sure he never let down a team. Made sure he always got his stuff done. He was somebody to look up to, in my eyes. I remember one time, Jared was on this team for Destination Imagination, which is an organization that brings a bunch of kids in to do plays and build stuff and things like that. And that year, Jared's team made it to the state competition. He was one of the leading parts in the play part that year. But he got laryngitis 2 nights before the competition, which was a problem because then he lost his voice. Well, Jared went to the doctor and he said, "Hey, what can I do to solve this?" So the doctor told him the next day he couldn't talk to anybody, which was difficult because Jared had to go to school, which required him to talk to his teachers and things like that. But no matter what, they couldn't get him to talk. Would not happen because he knew that might put him back and that could hurt his team. Well, needless to say, Jared didn't talk, took medicine, did steam, did everything he could. Still wasn't quite enough. He had his voice back by the time the competition was, but his voice was weak and crackly. But he went on anyway, and he gave it all. Talked as loud as he could, as clear as he could, and the team, they didn't make the globals. But the judges actually liked his performance. So that's every other team just did a really good job that year. And I think that really shows that his stubbornness, while annoying, he was there for the team because that's where he needed to be. Or another time, I remember he was so sick. He had a fever. He just didn't look good. He could barely walk. But he came into school to take an exam and give a presentation. And then he left. But no matter what, no matter who told him he had to go home or he had to stay home, he said, "No, I have an exam to take." He hated missing things like that because he felt if he missed them, maybe he won't do as well, or maybe somebody else, who wasn't prepared. Jared, he did his best. That's all he could do. Or in bowling, he was on the bowling team in high school. His team was good. They'd gone to state 3 years in a row. And he didn't want to be the reason they didn't make it again. So he went in, pulled his arm lifting weights, but he bowled. He bowled in the next match so that they could make it to state. He bowled his best game ever. Jared, he's a tough guy. In football, he pulled a muscle, his pecs, and when he took deep, heavy breaths, then it kind of hurt, like in the chest area. But that didn't stop him. He played through the pain. He practiced. He wasn't going to let that slow him down. He wasn't any better than anybody else on that team, and he was going to work hard to make sure that he belonged there. So he was stubborn, would never give up. While Jared was very stubborn, he believed that no matter how stubborn you were, goals are what pushed you forward in life. And he was very goal-oriented. At this time, I'd like to share a story that his mother shared with me right before this. I wrote it down, and I thought it really showed what kind of goals he had set for himself, and how those goals drove him. His mom told me that when he was a kid, Jared, he'd see something and he'd go for it, nonstop, boom, boom, And this one time, his mom took him to the store, and Jared saw something that he wanted. Well, his mom told him, listen, I don't have the money, so you're going to have to earn the money before you can get it. So that's what Jared did. He went home, and he did chore after chore after chore. And he was doing everything he could to make sure that he could earn the money to go get what he wanted. He was trying so hard. His mom had to tell him to stop cleaning because he was wearing down the counters and everything. Because he was over cleaning it. Showed, once he got that goal, he wasn't stopping. Or I also talked to his dad right before this, and his dad told me that when Jared was a kid, he was always on his four-wheeler. He's racing it around. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to race four-wheelers. And every time his dad tried to say, oh, hey, all right, time to get off, Jared's like, no, I got to keep going. I got to get good. Be better than everybody else. And Jared was young, so he couldn't be left unattended for safety reasons. So his dad had to pull him off and kind of drag him away so he'd go to work. Goals were everything to Jared. They're what drove him. They were the main things. And he had future goals, too, before his untimely demise. He wanted to be a mechanical engineer. It's hard stuff. And he knew it. He knew it going in, but he knew being a mechanical engineer, that was going to be the best way for him to help other people. So, he started school, and it was hard. It was harder. He was a smart kid in high school, but this stuff, it beat him down. But he never gave up. He said, no, I gotta be a mechanical engineer. So I'm going to help people. And that's what he did. He took all those classes, and he was going to go 4 years. 4 years, Calc 3, thermodynamics, mechanics and materials, all these classes. And he said, I don't care how hard they get, I'm going to learn it, I'm going to help. And he was going to. Till he died. But, yeah. Jared was goals. He was taking a speech class so that he could learn how to be a better communicator for when he's a mechanical engineer. So that when he had an idea, instead of people overlooking him because he didn't know how to properly communicate, that he could eloquently and correctly address people and say, hey, I have this idea. I'd like to share it with you, maybe see what you think. He was terrible at public speaking. It made him nervous, and he wasn't very good at being social. But he took a class, or was taking a class, because he wanted to be better. It didn't matter how hard it was for him. He had to make that goal. He had to keep going. He was stubborn, goal-oriented, and those things drove him. But he also had free time. And what he did in his free time showed you who he was, what he was passionate about. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about those. Jared used to tell me how he loved sports, and he did. He played football, baseball, golf, basketball, everything he could. He loved sports, but his favorite was football. And he told me once that when he was a kid, his parents weren't around very often. His dad was always working, his mom was always working. So he loved when every Sunday came around, and his dad sat him down on his lap, turned on the Packer game, and for the next 3 hours, him and his dad watched football. And that's when he started loving football, because that was when he got to see his dad. So football immediately got ingrained into his heart. And then, when he was old enough, he joined the football team. He didn't play all 4 years because his junior year, his parents needed him to stop and get a job and make some extra money for the house. But he never stopped loving football. You know, he would watch every game every Sunday, Thursday, Monday. He would play fantasy football. He loved it. Yeah. And then he also liked bowling and golf for his other two favorite sports. And those were his favorite because he got to play with his friends. His friends were extremely important to him. You know, to Jared, friends were everything. Because he was an only child, so when he grew up, he didn't have siblings or anybody to play with, so he had to go out and he had to make friends. And if he didn't make friends, he wouldn't have had anybody. So when his friends bowled or golfed or anything like that, he jumped at the chance. He wanted to be around people. He wanted to be social. So he did, and that's when he loved bowling, golf, those types of things. And he also told me that his family were his friends. Jared was a good guy. You know, he believed in doing what was right, couldn't let down a team, fought as hard as he could for as long as he could, and no matter what, he was there for you. I think the thing that Jared would want us to remember most about him isn't what he liked or anything, it's how he lived his life, because that's how he wants you to remember him, by living your life the way he lived his. Picking a goal and going for it, no matter who tells you not to or what other people may expect of you. You do what you have to do, and always respect other people. Thank you, everybody.